back to Books of Brandy Wine. Today I am bringing you my N.E.W.T.s TBR. So if you don't know what the N.E.W.T.s are, it's a really cool readathon that was created by Book Roast, and it encompasses like just everything awesome in Harry Potter. So months and months ago in April, I participated in the O.W.L.s readathon, which is the predecessor to the N.E.W.T.s readathon. So in the Harry Potter universe, they would take the O.W.L.s, and then years later they would take the N.E.W.T.s. And for the readathons in April, we take our O.W.L.s and we read books that have to do with prompts for the O.W.L.s. And then in, what month is this going to be? August? We take our N.E.W.T.s and we read books that have to do with the N.E.W.T.s. So when I did the O.W.L.s, and I'll link the announcement video. It'll make so much more sense when you watch our announcement video than what I'm trying to explain here. So when I did my O.W.L.s in April, that also happened to coincide with my Shakespeare month. So all of the books that I did for the O.W.L.s were Shakespeare related. They were either actual Shakespeare plays, or they were like books that were retellings of Shakespeare plays, stuff like that. The books that I'm reading now do not have such restraints, so I was able to just freely pick whatever books I wanted. I did restrict my TBR to books that I already owned. The only exception to that book is Spellslinger, which is a book that everybody has the opportunity to read that's doing the readathon, and I believe there's going to be like a live video that has to do with that book. I don't know anything about it. I know that it can replace any of the prompts that we have for our N.E.W.T.s, but other than that, I don't know anything about the book besides the fact that it's the first book in a series. Speaking of which, this last month was like the month of sequels. All the books that I read were like sequels of series that I already loved and had come out, and I was excited to read them. This month, I'm going to be reading a lot of books that are the first books in the series, and I'm really hoping that I like them so I can continue on with all these different series, because I love reading series. Standalones are cool, but I really, really, really love series. So when I did my O.W.L.s, I did read a book for every single subject that was in the O.W.L.s, and we were supposed to pick what we want our career to be and read for the subjects that you need for that career. But I was super stressed out that month and didn't have time to do that, and just decided to read all of the books for all the prompts. That way I wouldn't have to pick a career, and whatever career I decided to be on, like I had read all of the books, so I could choose any career I wanted. And so this time I had to pick a career so I would know which books to read for my N.E.W.T.s. And so the career that I decided to go with was librarian. I was stuck between Hogwarts professor and librarian. For Hogwarts professor, you had to choose a subject. And I had already like written down all the questions for the librarian. I was like, you know what? I really like these prompts. I'm just going to be a librarian. And that works too, because then I get to be surrounded by books, and that is amazing. And so for the librarian, there are 7 prompts, because you have to study you have to test for 3 subjects. And you have to get a certain score in each subject. So, and again, I have my trusty notebook. So for the librarian, you have to get an O in Ancient Ruins, an E in Defense Against the Dark Arts, and an E in History of Magic. And so for each test, there's 3 levels. There's A, E's, and O's. So to get an O in, I need an O in Ancient Ruins, I have to also get the A and the E. So I have to read 3 books for Ancient Ruins. And then for E, if you want E, you also have to read A, so that then it's 2 for each of those. So for the A, which I believe stands for acceptable, for Ancient Ruins, the word was EHWAZ? E-H-W-A-Z, which means partnership, and it was to read a book that was recommended by a friend. And for that book, I chose The Thief, which was recommended to me by Ayushi. And this was given to me from her as a Christmas gift. She was my Secret Santa, and sent me a couple different books. And this book was one in her letter that she recommended, that she loved the series. Based on the books that I had put as like books I was interested in to receive as gifts, because she said that just based on those, and how much she loved this series. Like, she thought I'd really, really love this series too. So I'm really excited to finally get around to it. This taken me like 8 months because I'm really bad. I mean, you guys have seen the picture of my TBR stack. There are like 100 books just in the physical TBR. So unfortunately it's taking me forever to get to the books, but I'm finally getting to it and I can't wait to read it and hopefully love it and read the rest of the series. And then for E, which I think stands for excellent, it was to read a book that is written in the past tense, and that is pretty much every book. So I got to choose whatever I wanted to read, and I want to read The Cabinet of Wonders. If you guys saw my previous books, I picked this up, or previous videos, I picked this up in a little free library, and I don't remember anything about it. When I read the back of the book, it sounded really interesting, but I don't remember anything about it now, and I don't want to look it up because I don't want to have expectations when I go into it. But it just, the cover looks so cool, and there's like all these mechanical things going on here. I don't know if you can see. Oops, that was lighting, not focus. I don't know, it's not going to focus, I guess. But there's a lot of really cool mechanical stuff. You can see the cloud is mechanical, and everything just looks really awesome. And so I'm really excited to get to read it. This one is also a first book, so it's 2 now that are first books in the series. And then for the O, which I think stands for outstanding, was to read a book that has been on your TBR forever. And for that, I chose Gulliver's Travels. I used to watch this Gulliver's Travels cartoon when I was really little, and I watched it over and over again, and I just loved it. I thought the artwork was so beautiful, and I thought the story was so interesting, but I don't recall the cartoon ever, like, I think he goes to 3 different worlds, and I don't think the cartoon went to all 3. And so I always wanted to read the book to find out about these other places that he visited. And so I finally got my hands on a copy of it, and now I'm really excited to finally get to read this book. It has been on my TBR since I was like in elementary school, so I'd say that qualifies as forever. So those 3 are the books that I'm reading for Ancient Ruins. And then I also have to read books that are for the Defense Against the Dark Arts. So for A, it was to read a book that has a black under the dust jacket. And this book does have black under the dust jacket. This is The Cryptid Catcher, which I picked up at Bookworks the first time I went in. Mostly, like, it looked interesting. The back looks really cool. I would have waited for the paperback edition, but this one was autographed. And I did not want to pass up the chance to have the autographed. Wait, where's the autograph? Wait. Oh, there it is. Woo! That scared me for a second. There's the autograph. I was like, I know I checked this book for an autograph. Where's the autograph? But she did it on the black page so that she could use the silver pen, which is awesome. But this book actually sounds really, really interesting. Basically, cryptids are the, I want to say they're myths, but like the folklore creatures that we have. So like Bigfoot, and which I think is there, and I'm guessing that's the Chupacabra. And I don't even know who these 2 guys are. But they go around and catching them, I'm guessing. The back sounded really, really interesting. The back was basically a contract for this guy to hire this baby automatically, and I'm guessing that baby is this kid here, but we will see how that goes. Either way, the back sounded really funny, and I'm looking forward to some laughs. Then, the next one for E, for Defense Against the Dark Arts, was to read the first book that came to your mind that's on your TBR. And the first book that I could remember was Dragon's Green. I have had this book for almost a year, I think, and I haven't gotten to it yet. It is, again, a first book in a series, and I don't know anything about it other than this awesome cover with floating books and a dragon in the background and floating stones, so we will see how this goes. I am hoping that it's really, really good, and I'm looking forward to reading the rest of the series. I did see this book as a paperback at the bookstore the other day, so I really, really need to get on reading it if the paperback's already out. And the whole reason I bought it was because I couldn't wait to read it, and then I haven't read it and the paperback's already out. So those were the 2 books that I'm reading for Defense Against the Dark Arts. And then I also need to read 2 books for History of Magic. And so the first book for A is to read a book that is a fantasy, and for that I'm reading Half Upon a Time, which is again a first book in a series. They've got the second book there in the picture. And basically, This boy here, I think he's Jack's little brother. I don't think he is Jack and the Beanstalk. I think he's Jack's little brother. And this girl is from our world, and she like falls into the fantasy world, and he like refuses to believe that she's not a princess because her shirt says like rock princess or punk princess or something. And so adventures ensue, craziness happens. It's basically just all the cool old fairy tales being mixed up in mashup. And then for the last book for History of Magic for E is to read a book with a map in it. And for that, I am reading Wizards of Once, which has a gorgeous cover, but it's got this really cool map in it. Like, this book is so highly illustrated, it's crazy. Okay, this is the map. This map goes past the edges of the page. And so I saw that I had like 3 books that had maps on it, and I chose this because this is the coolest looking of all of the maps, and if I'm going to read a prompt to read a book with a map, I'm going to choose the craziest, awesomest looking map that there was. I don't actually know anything about this book. It is written by the same person that wrote How to Train Your Dragon. It's got crazy illustrations and stuff everywhere. It's going to be a crazy, awesome adventure, and I am looking forward to it. So those are the 7 books that I'm going to be reading for the N.E.W.T.s. Plenty of magic in there, which is great because we're studying at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. And I am really, really looking forward to this. Have fun with your N.E.W.T.s. I'll see you guys later. Bye.